February 9th, 2004. Route 112, Haverhill, New Hampshire. 17 degrees Fahrenheit. A black Saturn has crashed into a snowbank. Hazard lights blinking. Engine still warm. A young woman stands beside the wreck, calm, silent, alone in the dark. A school bus driver named Butch Atwood stops. He asks if she needs help. She tells him she already called AAA. She asks him not to call police. He goes home, directly across the road, and calls 911 anyway. 7:43 p.m. Police arrive at 7:46 p.m., 9 minutes later. The car is there. Her belongings are inside. The hazard lights are still blinking. But Maura Murray is gone. No footprints. No trail. No trace. She has never been found. Not in 20 years. Not ever. This is the case the entire internet tried to solve, and couldn't. A woman who vanished in 9 minutes, in the snow, without leaving a single mark. This is the impossible disappearance of Maura Murray. Who was Maura? To understand what happened on that road, you need to understand who Maura Murray really was. Maura Ann Murray. Born May 4th, 1982, Hanson, Massachusetts. Third of 5 children in a tight Irish Catholic family. Her father, Fred, was a military veteran, disciplined, structured, deeply devoted. Maura grew up in that world and thrived in it. By high school, she was a standout distance runner. Fast, focused, competitive. She earned a place at West Point, one of the most selective institutions in America. Getting in meant she was exceptional. But West Point didn't work out. After about a year, she left and transferred to UMass Amherst. Nursing school, cross-country team, a boyfriend named Billy Roush, a cadet finishing his time at West Point. On the surface, everything looked fine. But beneath that surface, cracks were forming. A DUI charge at West Point. A shoplifting incident at UMass. Small bottles of alcohol. Bounce checks. In the weeks before February, friends noticed she seemed anxious, withdrawn, emotionally distant. Then, 4 days before she disappeared, something happened that nobody has fully explained. Her father, Fred, came to visit for the weekend. They stayed at a hotel in Hadley, Massachusetts. That night, while Fred slept, Maura took his car. She drove to a nearby parking lot and crashed into a parked vehicle. She left a handwritten note on the damaged car. She drove back before morning. Fred found out the next day. He paid for the damage. They said their goodbyes. He went home. She went back to campus. It was the last time he saw his daughter. The final hours. The last hours of Maura Murray's life have been analyzed more carefully than almost any missing persons case in American history. Every email, every phone record, every digital trace, all documented, all debated, and what emerged was a picture of someone who was planning something. Something deliberate, something secret. At 1 p.m. on February 9th, a Monday, Maura logged into her university email. She wrote to her professor claiming a family emergency, saying she'd be absent for a week. There was no emergency. No one in her family knew anything was wrong. She emailed her boyfriend, Billy, to say she loved him. Then she searched online. Ski resorts in New Hampshire and Vermont, cabin rentals, driving directions heading north. She was mapping a route, planning a trip, and she told absolutely no one where she was going. At 4:30 p.m., she withdrew $400 cash from an ATM, nearly her entire account. She bought groceries, she bought alcohol, she packed her black 1996 Saturn sedan, clothing, a laundry basket, books, personal items. A car packed like someone who wasn't planning to come back anytime soon. Then she drove north. Interstate 93 into New Hampshire. Then Route 112, the Kancamagus Highway, a winding 2-lane road cutting through dense wilderness. No cell service, Almost no traffic after dark. Miles from the nearest town. At 7:27 p.m., Butch Atwood rounded the corner and found her beside the wrecked Saturn. She was composed, calm. She said she'd called AAA. She asked him not to involve the police. He called 911. 9 minutes later, police arrived. Everything was there, except Maura. The 9-minute window. 9 minutes. That is all the time she had. And here is what stopped investigators cold. There were no clear footprints leading away from the scene. No trail into the forest. No tracks along the road. The trail simply ended at the car door. The search that followed was immediate and massive. Search dogs brought in. Volunteers combing roadsides. Law enforcement sweeping miles of brutal White Mountain terrain. Dense trees, steep ravines, rivers running under thin ice. They searched for days. They found nothing. No body. No clothing dropped along a trail. No personal items. No evidence she entered the forest. No evidence she walked the road. And here is what has haunted this case for 20 years. After 2 decades of searching with trained dogs, aerial drones, ground-penetrating radar, and thousands of volunteer hours, not a single trace of Maura Murray has ever been found. The forest kept its secret completely. The theories. In 20 years, 4 theories have defined this investigation. Theory 1, she walked into the woods and died. Maura was likely impaired. The partially consumed Kahlua and wine in her car suggests she was drinking while driving. She was emotionally distressed. Facing police meant another DUI, more consequences, more damage to her record, more fallout with her family just 4 days after the parking lot incident. She may have panicked, run into the trees to avoid the situation. In February, at night, in the White Mountains, that decision can be fatal within hours. Hypothermia sets in fast. Disorientation follows. The cold takes over before a person realizes what is happening. But here is the problem. 20 years of searching have produced 0 physical evidence. Inactive wilderness remains surface. Something should have been found long ago. Theory 2. Someone picked her up. Witnesses reported seeing a dark vehicle, possibly a truck, near the crash site with its lights dimmed, stopped near the Saturn before police arrived. That vehicle was never identified. The driver never came forward. If Maura flagged down a passing car to escape before police arrived, that person has stayed completely silent for 20 years. And if she was taken against her will, this was never a missing persons case. It was something far darker. Theory 3. She planned to disappear. The cash withdrawal, the false family emergency, the packed car, the route heading away from her life. Some investigators believe Maura was deliberately walking away from her relationship, her academic pressure, her disciplinary record, the weight of everything closing in. The Murray family has rejected this completely, and the evidence supports them. 0 financial activity from any account connected to Maura after February 9th, 2004. No sightings, no records, no trace. People who vanish voluntarily always leave something eventually. Maura has left nothing. Theory 4. The last witness knew more. Butch Atwood was the last confirmed person to see Maura alive. He lived directly across the road from the crash site. Over years of interviews, researchers found inconsistencies in his accounts, details that shifted, timelines that didn't quite align. He died in 2016, never charged, never officially named as a suspect, but the questions around his account have never been resolved. The investigation. The early investigation failed in ways that may never be fully corrected. The crash site was not immediately secured as a crime scene. Vehicles drove through, snow was disturbed. Evidence that might have been critical was lost before investigators understood what they were dealing with. The case was fragmented across multiple agencies, overlapping jurisdiction, inconsistent coordination, no single authority driving the investigation in those critical first hours, and the dominant theory that Maura walked into the woods, consumed early resources. Massive effort went into woodland searches while other threads, including the unidentified vehicle, received far less follow-up. Fred Murray became the relentless, grieving face of this case. For years, he lived near the crash site, posting flyers, talking to locals, pushing investigators publicly, following every lead. He never accepted any theory that didn't involve someone knowing more than they were saying. In 2017, the podcast Your Own Backyard reignited national interest. An A and E documentary series brought the case to millions. Reddit communities with tens of thousands of members analyzed every photograph, every witness statement, every timeline. The attention kept the case alive, but it also caused real harm. Witnesses faced harassment. Local residents had their lives disrupted by internet investigators who had already decided on their answers. The case remains officially open. No arrests, no suspects named, no answers. 20 years later, February 2024, 20 years to the month, vigils on Route 112, her photo circulating again, the same image for 2 decades. A young woman with dark hair, smiling, with no idea what was coming. Fred Murray, now in his 70s, still speaks. Still believes someone in that community knows what happened. Still believes that silence will eventually break. Modern forensics have been applied to the original evidence. Advanced DNA analysis, ground-penetrating radar surveys. No public breakthrough has been announced. The crash site looks almost exactly as it did that night. The road curves at the same angle. The snowbank forms each winter in the same place. The tree line stands 10 feet from the road. And when darkness falls and the temperature drops, the silence on Route 112 is absolute. People drive that road now on purpose. Drawn by the podcasts, the documentaries, the years of unanswered questions, they stop at the crash site. They look at the tree line. They all leave with the same feeling. The answer feels just out of reach, just beyond those trees, but it hasn't come. Not yet, maybe not ever. Closing. Some cases get solved. A witness finally talks. A confession surfaces from somewhere unexpected. Justice arrives, late but real. And then there are cases like Maura Murray's. Cases that resist every tool, every theory, every technology thrown at them. Cases that outlast the witnesses, outlast the investigators, and may one day outlast even the family still searching. Maura Murray was 21 years old on February 9, 2004. She was a daughter, a sister, a girlfriend, a runner, a nursing student with struggles and dreams, and a whole life that was supposed to happen. In 9 minutes, on a cold and empty road in New Hampshire, she was gone. We still don't know what happened, but the question has to remain. Where is Maura Murray? That question hangs over Route 112 like the winter cold itself. Invisible, absolute, unanswered. 20 years, and the road keeps its silence.